Well, we have come to the end of our second day at the Institute of Directors Northern Ireland Women's Leadership Conference. As I always say, one of my favourite days in the year, and it was a fantastic afternoon, full of insight, full of energy, full of inspiration, full of real conversations as well. So of course I wanted to share some insights with you. So for example, we started off with Sheehan, General Manager at Microsoft, and she spoke about the power of partnerships, and when you partner with people who've got the same philosophy and coming together on a common mission, how that's the way to get really big things done. For example, in Microsoft's case, the transformation of digital skills. She spoke as well about suppressing who you are in work and how that can be exhausting. And she said, she is full of energy, she's full of high pace, and she really wants to, drive things forward, etc. So she said how important it is to be in a workplace that cultivates that culture. And of course, as general manager, it's a big part of her own brief as well to make sure that she builds and leads a culture accordingly. She spoke a lot about diversity, and that really rhymed with what Damien Gabeil spoke about on the first day of our conference on Wednesday. All around diversity, but particularly listening, she said, learning and acting from everybody, not reminding or making sure that you just talk to people who look like you or sound like you, but making sure that you hear from everybody. She spoke about her derailment factors, the things that can throw her off, and she spoke about being open about those with your team so that then people can understand maybe when you're not at your best or maybe when you're unintentionally doing something that you shouldn't. And she said that can really be a great way to build trust in your teams. She also spoke about the importance of working on international teams from different cultures to get different perspectives and to make oneself more rounded. Now, I know that's not available in every company or in every job, but she certainly spoke about that being a differentiating factor in her own career. Now, she also talked about the permafrost, and she said that is a layer that can exist in organisations of people who nod and go along with maybe what the strategy is or what leadership might propose, etc., but ultimately do all they can to stop progress from happening. And she said it's very important to identify that and to root it out. She spoke about different experiences build different muscles, and this was in the context of resilience, is that, I might have an experience and it could make me very resilient in one area, but it might be entirely different to what somebody else has in another area. And the more of those ultimately that we can build and to grow as metaphorical muscles, the better it can be. Now, she spoke about the environment that she likes to have with her team, which is high trust and high challenge. And I think that that's a really great way to think about the way in which we interact, because if you do have great trust, well, then, of course, one is or should be comfortable in giving constructive feedback or giving it as well. And it's very important to have that so that things can move forward in the best way, and also in an environment where people can say, look, I think things can be done better, or I don't think this is the right direction, and to hash that out. Also, as well, she said that it's important that companies like Microsoft work to activate and bring ecosystems together. And I think, though, that I agree with her, right? But B, I don't think that it's just for a company the size of Microsoft. I think there's lots and lots of companies and individuals, businesses, organizations, agencies, networks, etc., that can really be a good bridge in an ecosystem. And it's important to just think through how you might be the partner or the missing link in between others that can really make a difference. And then also, she said what she really feels is her button to self-regulate is the ability to do great things for customers that are transforming, building great teams and using tech for good. And this was in answer to my question around, did she ever get stuck in a rut? And she said that's her self-regulating button, is that she always has those 3 tests around what she does, so that then to make sure that she is doing what she wants to do. Now, second panel, fantastic women, Dr. Caoimhe Rooney from NASA and Bernadette, head of race strategy at Aston Martin. Oh my God, these 2 women are just amazing. But what they spoke about was to practice going outside your comfort zone, and it gets easier, a bit like Anne's muscles. That can be built from different experiences. Caoimhe in particular spoke about the importance of having a support system to enable you to go after that support system, but to go after those comfort zones, but also as well for your mental and physical strength and resilience along the way. Bernadette had a great line, which is when the opportunities arise, go for them, and when they don't, ask for them. And also when you're told no, she said, ask the question, what would make the difference for this decision? Great, powerful question. And also, Caoimhe then went on to talk about, sometimes we feel the pressure to perform against the standard of our peers, but maybe we're looking at the wrong standard, and we should be looking at the standard that we want to set for ourselves, and let that be our benchmark. Both of them talked about, the whole idea of being of being a role model. And that sense of, do we ever have enough to offer? But if we all thought that way, well, then there wouldn't be role models. And that's why it's to great credit that both of them came on the conversation today, as did all our speakers, to put themselves forward as saying, look, we've got something to say. And by the way, every single one of them were so worth listening to. But I just think that it's something to reflect on for any of us who might be questioning whether you're a role model, is that at the end of the day, have you got something to offer that can be of help to somebody? Because that really and truly is enough. Also as well, Bernadette spoke about how much you can learn from when things go wrong. And also she said a great question that they have when they are making decisions on the track, she said, is we ask ourselves which crocodile is closest to the boat so that it can help prioritise in a high octane, very small amount of time to make decisions sort of scenario. Also as well, she spoke about the advantages that can come from maybe being a minority voice, like she said, on the team. She's the only woman and the only woman from Northern Ireland and the only person from Northern Ireland in the first place. So she says how her voice can permeate as a result. Granted, she's well able to do that anyway. And also as well, Caoimhe spoke about Mathematicals, which is an initiative that she's creating to encourage more girls into maths. By the way, it's fantastic. Check it out. The 1 minute math series is brilliant. It really gets you thinking. We use it a lot with our savvy teens. And she said the reason that she's doing that is, apart from encouraging more girls into maths, which is one of her own passions, she said that there's a kind of a sense out there around what we should look like. Whereas instead, she wants to use social media in order to create an alternative perspective. And also, Caoimhe then also went on to say, be a role model, even if it's uncomfortable. And Bernadette had a great line, which is, whatever opportunities are out there, there is much there for you as for anybody else. And I just think that that's a really great motivating factor. And then after that, then we had Dr. Jane Goodall. Now, a phenomenal woman, I have to say. So she's 87. Pre-COVID, she was 300 days on the road. She reaches millions of people every year. If you don't know about her, go and check out the lifelong work that she's done. It's absolutely groundbreaking. And she was a very different person to interview today, because it's not business or leadership necessarily is her passion, but instead a naturalist and understanding the world around us. But she has done phenomenal things around roots and shoots, and so much more. It took me a fair while to research Dr. Jane Goodall sufficiently to be able to interview her today. So I could go on and tell you about what she's done, but I just particularly talked to you about what she shared with us. So first of all, she said everybody's a mission, because hers is big, but she said everybody has a mission. We've all been, brought to the world to go and accomplish something. And in her case, she said she simply wanted to go and do it. She spoke about the difference between being alone and lonely. She said she's often spent a lot of time alone, and based on the work she needed to do, that was a good thing, because she was going to spend a lot of time on her own. But she says there's a big difference between that and loneliness, and that it's important to differentiate between the two. When she said you want to encourage people to open their minds, she said the way to do it is through stories. And that emotions and the narrative behind a mission or, a movement, it's all about telling stories. She also said as well that it's so important to be present to realise your dreams. And that really, I think, made the audience stop and think, certainly did in my case, is that maybe we are achieving what we've always set out to achieve. Or maybe if you were to ask the 5 years ago version of you whether you're achieving what you've done today, a lot of the time maybe you are, but maybe you're just not taking the time to realise it. And she's extremely present. She is extremely present. And she shared with us a couple of ways that she does that and the way she manages her energy as well. She says when you are on your own and you're out in nature, you're just part of nature then. When another person joins you, then you go back to ultimately being a human. But just the way she talks about it and her relationship with the natural world is incredible. She really reinforced the importance of respect and how it ricochets across, whether it's nature, or any relationships that we might have, particularly if we want to be in a position of influence. And she spoke about that in the context of climate change. And then she also then spoke about the importance of talking to people, and also she has an incredible ability to cut through, but she says it's so important to just realise the gifts you have and run with them, even if it's tough. And then she also spoke about how her mother always encouraged her to dream unachievable dreams, because who knows when they might become achievable in the future, which she has done. Also, we heard from 4 pitchers, people who pitch for 60 seconds. And you know what? They really put themselves out there. It takes discipline to package your message into 60 seconds. And of course, it opens you up to opportunities. So live here from Belfast, what a conference. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as me.